ready to rumble with the last keynote. A really impressive woman who probably was one of the first people to talk about online education. And I'm excited to bring onto stage Lynda Weinman, who is the co-founder and executive chair of a company you probably know of called Lynda.com. Lynda. So, Lynda, I will give you the hand towel. Is that what you?
I'm mic'd up. I think
okay.
I'm mic'd, but I do need a clicker. I think. Great.
There you go.
The green button. Okay, great. Nope. Can I get my slide deck up? This is an amazing conference. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me and including me. I'm really honored. Is it up? No.
Can you find it? You want me to load it? Sorry, guys.
I know that my opening slide is of a magic wand, because if anybody had ever told me that Lynda.com would grow as successful as it has, I wouldn't have believed them. And there is a little element of magic when, you know, all the stars align and something happens that's much bigger than you believe it can be. And there we go, there's my wand. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about, oops, not advancing. Oh. Okay. So we've learned a lot by having press write about us, and this was a fact that we did not know about our company. This was written about a year and a half ago, that Lynda.com had more paid digital users than the New York Times. That was really shocking information to us. This is not advancing, I'm sorry. Just advance it this way? I don't know what you're saying, sorry.
It's advancing here, it's not advancing there. No, it's the other clicker.
The other clicker.
I will stand here.
Okay, we also just announced about a month ago that we, for the first time in our history, accepted $103 million in financing. And it was a, thank you. It was a rather agonizing decision for us because we had bootstrapped our company for the last 18 years and we had a lot of creative freedom. And it was kind of scary to bring on other people. But one of the amazing pieces of validation was that no education company since 1980 has raised that much money in a single round. That was very validating as well. Okay, let's see. Yay. And in the last couple of days, this article was sent around. It was written by somebody who's really skeptical about the online learning space and who raises a lot of valid criticism, but is sort of changing his mind. But I loved that he said, the fact that Silicon Valley venture capitalists see a profit-making opportunity offers zero assurance that the public interest will be served. And I think, you know, it is a really hot space right now, and Lynda.com really wanted to hold on to our educational integrity and make sure that what we did was really product-focused and member-centric and really delivering education. We didn't want to be pushed to an exit. We didn't want to have a negative influence from bringing on money. We felt like we were ready to really do something and leverage it and grow beyond how we were growing organically, and I'll talk a little bit about how we're using the money in a moment. I began my career without realizing that I was beginning my career. The first computer that I ever used was the first computer that anybody ever used, the Apple II. I was 28 years old when this was invented. And I found it really hard to get through the manual and figure out how to use it. And I forced myself, and I was so proud that I just started to brag to everybody. Basically, look, I did this, look, I did that. And then they started asking me, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? And quite accidentally, I discovered that I really loved teaching and I really loved sharing and that I was good at it. we sponsored the Santa Barbara Film Festival, and we had Jennifer Lawrence come and speak. And for those of you who have been asleep for the last couple of years, she's been nominated for 2 Academy Awards, and she's 22 years old. And she made a comment that before she discovered acting, she didn't have any idea that she was really good at anything. And I felt that resonated with me so much because before I discovered teaching, I had no idea that I was really good at anything. And I was lucky enough to really find my passion and find my calling. I started from the Apple II Plus into the Macintosh, got really heavily into graphics. I was already working in the film industry, so I started learning animation and all kinds of creative uses of the computer and became a self-taught expert. In 1985, Apple invited me to go on a world tour to talk about some of the work that I'd done in the film industry, and this launched my speaking career. I was 30 years old right there. In 1989, I had a child. My daughter is 23 today. This is her when she's about 6 months old. And it was really tough to stay working in the film industry because there was very little respect for working moms, and they expected me to work all kinds of long hours. And so when I was invited to give a lecture about the work that I was doing at a local art college, Art Center College of Design, and they invited me to come teach, it sounded pretty good. So I kind of left my career in the film industry and decided to become a university-level teacher in art college. When I was teaching, it was actually before the web. And during the time I discovered in about 1994 the web, and I think maybe before a lot of other people, I realized that artists were going to be able to leverage this medium and that all of my art students were going to have to know how to publish their websites and portfolios and make identity systems for other people on the web. I went to a bookstore to look to assign them a book and realized that one did not exist. So in my spare time at nights at 2 in the morning, whenever I could cram in a moment, I ended up writing the first book on web design and having it published in 1996. That was my first experience with making something once and selling it many times. The book ended up becoming a national and an international bestseller, and it was translated into dozens of languages, and I ended up writing a lot of other books and making enough money to buy our first house and get married to my second husband and move our family to Ojai, California, which is a little community of about 8,000 people, very idyllic. And it was at the dawn of the internet age, and it just felt to me and my husband that if we could have an internet connection and have access to FedEx, that we could both make a living. It turned out to be a little tough to do that, and I really miss teaching, so he had the idea that we would open a school focused on web design. At this time, web design was not taught at community college level or college level. There was only my book on how to do it. It was a very, very early on, and at the same moment, the dot-com boom was starting, and so we opened a school. Our first year, we made $1.7 million, and we had people coming from all over the world, marthastewart.com, llbean.com. We were sort of the de facto place to learn web design. I became frustrated with my book publisher because there were certain things that I wanted to write about and teach, and the book publisher didn't think they were big enough markets, so we started to publish these lessons as VHS videotapes. And these are some of our early VHS videos. My husband did the artwork for the covers. I taught the courses. I edited the video. We completely packaged and manufactured these videos, just the two of us. I began to realize that teaching, that it didn't matter what medium, that they were all just form factors, that whether it was a book or speaking or a DVD or a VHS, that I loved to teach and I just wanted to do it any way that I could. As our school gained in popularity, we started to bring on other teachers, and that was kind of a revelation to me, that people would come to lynda.com and find teachers other than me. It was sort of the first really step to scaling our business and thinking a little bit bigger and going from, thinking about just ourselves to expanding it into a network of teachers and a network of topics. This is Garrick Chow, who still works for us about 15 years later. When we decided to put our lessons online and start what today people know lynda.com as, which is an online library of instructional videos, that teaches technology, creative skills, business skills and software. The first month we took a poll and everybody put their answers in a jar, and nobody guessed as few people as subscribed. We started a subscription service. It was before broadband, it was before YouTube, it was really a little bit early to market. And the first month we had 30 subscribers, and the first year we had 1,000 members. And fortunately, we had a lot of other revenue streams, and we were just doing whatever it took to make a living, which included teaching and the live classroom, going out and consulting, writing books, producing conferences, and basically spreading ourselves very, very thin. In fact, every time we would gain another 1,000 subscribers, we used to have a cake. And this is one of my last pictures of the cake because it started to grow exponentially, and the reputation of lynda.com started to take off. And I think when we got to about 25,000, we never did another cake. And today, we're just approaching 3 million people who have access to lynda.com on paid membership. Today, not only do we teach web design, but 3D animation, audio, business design, web development, photography, video, and we make documentaries about creative professionals and tell their story about how they, what their journey was like to become successful. Even though we have never stepped, we do have a sales office. It's relatively new. It's been about a year and a half that we've been in the UK. But lynda.com is in over 130 countries as an English-speaking service. And just by the nature of being a web product, you are international without stepping foot outside. I'm going to definitely talk a little bit more about global towards the end of the presentation. But I wanted to get a picture that would show close to 3 million people. And this was the 2008 inauguration, 1.7 million people. So when you look at all those people, we're almost double that many people, and it's really kind of amazing to me to think about it and see it. Thank you. Another thing that I really liked that this Salon article said was that just because you have the distribution of education, that it isn't synonymous with actual learning. It doesn't mean that learning is going on. And I really like this statement because I think the reason why lynda.com has been successful is because we've made effective, practical, useful, and truly working education that when you're a subscription service, people will not subscribe if what you produce is not of value to them. And so I really like this statement because I think a lot of people are new coming to the market and they're thinking, oh, if I have the distribution platform, that's enough, and it isn't. So we all know that we're in an educational crisis right now, that budgets are being slashed, that the student debt load has exceeded that of credit card debt, and that we have record number of high school dropouts, and that just having a college degree, it doesn't even mean that you're going to get a job. And we're not building any more brick and mortar Harvards and Yales and Princetons and Evergreen, which is the college I went to. I think that while we call it a diploma, it's really a euphemism for being able to know that we can get a good job, that we can support our families, that we can make enough money to be happy, and that we can have stability in a home. And while we've watched so many other industries transform and disrupt the way that we shop, the way that we socialize, the way that we date, the way that we consume media, and of course the way that we buy shoes, my favorite, we still haven't seen education be transformed by the internet, but it's ripe for disruption. At the exact same time that the internet has really come to maturity, for the last decade, we've had No Child Left Behind, which has really sort of rewarded teaching to the test and cramming for tests. And if you pass the test, that's how you measure success. And it's really a tragedy because the people that we're teaching have been born with a mouse in their hand, basically, and are the digital natives. And it's the digital immigrants that aren't understanding that this new generation wants something that is of a different, more rich and compelling nature. And they want to be in charge. That's one of the benefits of the individualized learning that's possible online. So one of my favorite stories about the impact that lynda.com has had came from a mother who was frustrated that her son was spending too much time gaming. And she gave him a lynda.com account, and instead he started to learn how to create games. So he went from becoming a consumer to a creator. I had an older woman stop me in my hometown, and she said, "I heard you speak at a conference," and I was in the audience, and I was crying. And I said, "Well, why were you crying?" And she said, "Because I realized that I had totally given up on myself being able to ever catch up with changing technology, and you gave me hope. Your service gave me hope. I went home, I logged on, I started teaching myself things. Suddenly I have enormous confidence. I'm applying for jobs I was afraid to apply for, and it really changed my life. Thank you." A school that has subscribed, we have actually both B2B and B2C, so there's an enterprise version of lynda.com, and that's how we've grown into these sort of unimaginable numbers. And so there are licenses where the entire school can subscribe, and it could be every faculty, staff member, and student. And in this case, we heard about a janitor who had access to lynda.com and ended up changing his career within the school and coming onto the web team after studying web design on lynda.com. Thank you. And when I was at the film festival in Santa Barbara, I was introduced to this filmmaker who just won Best Documentary for a movie called Blood Brother, and he was also voted Best of Show by the audience. And when he was introduced to me, he said, "You're Lynda of lynda.com?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, I'm just so amazed to meet you. I learned how to edit my film on lynda.com. Amazing stories. Oops, there we go. My husband and I took our first 3-week vacation ever in 18 years since we started lynda.com, and we went to the Summer Olympics. And I was there at the opening ceremonies, and I felt like I was in the middle of a multicultural group hug. It was just the most overwhelming feeling. And it struck me as I was sitting in that audience that the problem that lynda.com solves is not an American problem, it's a human problem. And we've been, for a very long time, we know that we're international. We know that a lot of some educated people are lucky enough in other countries to know English and be able to learn in English, but we could reach so many more people if we would localize and produce our training in other languages. And so today we made the announcement that we've made our very first acquisition. It's one of the things that we did with the funding that we just got. And we bought a company called Video to Brain, which is based in Graz, Austria. And they have created very similar training to ours in German, French, and Spanish. And we had a choice, do we build or buy? And we decided to buy and build upon what they have already built. And we just today welcomed 60 new people into our 400-person company. And it's very, very exciting. And I was especially thrilled to get a letter from the founder of Video to Brain, and he said, so far everybody from the team and the authors were happy that it is lynda.com who's become the parent company and no one else. And I thought that that was just, so flattering, and I'm so glad that they all feel that way about the brand that we've built. Just the other day, on February 11th, I got this letter. I get letters every day from members and users. And he said that he had been using lynda.com for 4 years, and that in the last year of college, he started his own freelance and web design business, that he couldn't have done it without lynda.com. And then he asks at the end, with the rise of edX and Udacity and Coursera and other scholarly platforms, do you see online learning replacing traditional college, and could lynda.com become the top art and design school of the future? And I think we do have there's a big landscape in the online learning space, and I think the question is always, are you going to replace traditional education? And it's my belief that there are things that are done in person that cannot be done online, and that face-to-face learning is still incredibly important, and teachers are still incredibly important, live teachers. Obviously, you have benefits with online in that Just the other day, I got a letter from a teacher. I have a student who has cerebral palsy, and she loves learning from the videos because she can learn them at her own pace. And we're not a one-size-fits-all model of the way that we've been teaching since the 19th century. What online provides is the ability to be more individualized and allow people to enter at their own level and learn what they need to do, not get bored, not get left behind. It really is the No Child Left Behind. But on the other hand, we really need the role of the teacher to help people learn the social skills, learn how to collaborate, help students learn how to do presentations like what you all are doing here today. That's what you have to do in the real life in order to be successful. And I read this poem. I'm friends with a college advisor on Facebook, and she posted this poem. She didn't know who, or no, it's not really a poem, but just this piece of writing. And it was a student who was sort of saying, everyone is questioning, why am I in college? And I don't, they wanted me to take career tests and personality tests and interest inventories and, are just constantly questioning me. And at the bottom, I highlighted her quote, "I wish they would forget about technology, forget about the numbers, forget about the money, and for once focus on me. I want to know what I should do with my life. I want to build connections that are going to last a lifetime. How can you help me as my advisor? You can help me find my purpose, my passion, my dreams." A computer can't necessarily help you do that, an online program. I think that is the future role of educators in the 21st century. Shar Reese asked me to touch on the billion-dollar opportunity. That's the theme of this program. And so glad she made the reference to the $1 million, and of course I changed it to the $1 billion. But actually, Forbes identifies the market that I'm in as a $1 trillion opportunity. However, I don't really think about numbers. I'm not really driven by money. When I think about one of my inspirations, Steve Jobs, even though he was probably one of the most wealthy men in the world, I don't think he was driven by that wealth. I think he was driven to create a better world and leverage technology to change the world and make it a better place. And it's my suspicion that he took his last dying breath, sad that he couldn't continue to do that. And that's really what motivates me. We like to say, instead of content is king, that content is queen at lynda.com. We know that people come to us for the training materials that we provide, that's most at the forefront of what we do to create relevant, effective, and truly helpful education. And so my Halloween costume this year, I came as Queen of Content, and it's quite an honor to be in this role. I mean, I feel like I've been handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's not something that I have built alone. We're 400, and as of today, 460 strong at lynda.com. We all are united by a passion to help people and have a big impact on the world and create the kind of stories that I just shared with you. So that's the end of my presentation.
How many of you are inspired? Thank you, that was beautiful. So we have questions from the audience. Right over there, I see one by the mic. Go ahead.
Lynda, I'm so excited that you're here. I wanted to let you know that thanks to your classes, I was able to learn After Effects, Illustrator, and Photoshop, and today I'm able to work with Zuckerberg Media, Cirque du Soleil as their camera operator, and I wanted you to just touch on the importance of all the females in this room learning these DIY lessons that you teach for, at that time, I don't know if you coined it or if I just made it up, but I paid like I think $25 or $35 a month for all you can learn. Did you ever put that in anything, all you can learn? Because that's what it felt like. Like you pay one fee and you can literally like spend countless hours learning everything that then will help you in your startup. So if you can just touch on the importance of everybody in this room picking up these DIY tools that you have on your site, it's a huge resource.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I mean, we were really touched by the recent State of the Union speech where President Obama, made the comment that we all have to upgrade our skills. We have to get into the information age. It's imperative that we start teaching this in school and that we all start teaching ourselves. And so I think that the world has changed so much and it's continuing to change, and it's kind of our joy and our passion to stay current and publish. We publish very often, almost on a daily basis. I think last year we published 1,200 hours of finished, edited instructional videos. And it is, really for the low, we started at the $25 a month and we've never raised our prices. And the library approach, I'd just like to touch on that just a little bit, that when we first started, we were selling individual videotapes. And when we started to put it all online, it started to have interrelationships. And even if you're learning something like After Effects, you still might need to know how to edit video and how to work with typography and how to choose a color. And we teach all these different interrelated skills. And the beautiful thing, because it's a library, anybody can come to it from any level and learn what it is that they need. It's not a predetermined curriculum. It's not a boring lecture that you have to listen to if you already know the information. So, well, thank you.
You hit it on the head. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Do we have another question in the audience? Yes, go ahead. Please go to the mic.
Hi, Lynda. It's an honor to have you here. I wanted to ask you a question that's not directly related to Lynda, but kind of goes off some themes you were talking about. A lot of colleges have been cutting out their arts and humanities programs, and Wesleyan University recently joined Coursera as the first liberal arts school offering courses online. Where do you see that trend going, and how do you think it will affect you?
I'm so glad you raised that question, because I myself went to a liberal arts college, and I also taught at an art college, so I believe so strongly in the arts. And there actually is an alternative movement to STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, and it's called STEAM, and it puts the word arts in there. And it is so incredibly important, because it's not just, there's a lot of just power in critical thinking and in being compassionate and in telling and sharing empathy. And there's so many things about the arts that just can't be achieved any other way. So I'm glad that you touched on that. And I do see that movement. I see it as positive, but I also think we definitely need to insert the A in there.
And we can take one more question.
My name is Paula Edelman, and I've come from Israel. And I have to say that you were the inspiration, really, for me to really show up at this. It was
wow.
And
It's amazing.
I also am doing a startup, and I'm in the education field. But I learned about you about 5 years ago when I was doing a documentary, and my partner, who was helping me, said, "Well, let me put lynda.com on the computer for any time you need anything as far as doing the photography, and editing it." And I have to thank you that, I've also gone on to now doing a startup helping people. So thank you.
Well, I'm incredibly touched, and I do feel that what we're doing is just so much bigger than us. It's bigger than me. It has its own life force. It touches so many people in so many amazing ways. And we walk around our offices, and you can just energetically feel that everybody's passionate and everybody just wants to put this thing into the world and make it better. And it's just such a joy to work on it. And I'm so honored that you came to hear me, and also that you got to experience this conference, which is truly wonderful. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much.